Ashley Heidemann from JD Advising. Before we dive into our video, let me give you some background on our completely free law school prep course. You can find a link below and sign up to access it right away. And if you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe to our channel. As of this taping, we have literally thousands of students enrolled in this free law school prep course. We're also very grateful that students rated this course an average of 4.76 out of 5. This course is posted as a free resource on the Law School Admission Council, or LSAC's website, and was just mentioned last month by U.S. News & World Report and the National Jurist as being a helpful law school resource. It has also been promoted by the National Black Law Students Association, Phi Alpha Delta, and various law schools and undergraduate institutions across the country.
So next, let's address some of the common questions that arise during networking, including what to talk about. So the first question, what if I mess up at a networking event? So let's say the conversation is going well and then it gets awkward, or it just fizzles out. Or you say something that you didn't mean or want to say that puts the other person off. It could be that you were distracted by nerves or by something else, and the other person picks up the wrong vibe and cuts the conversation short. Or maybe you share something that's just way too much information or too personal, and you instantly regret it. It's okay. Breathe. It happens to everyone. Make a note about what you learned from that moment and just move on. Don't let it affect your entire day, or if you're at an event, the entire networking event experience. Sometimes we're way harder on ourselves, and it's quite possible that the other person didn't really notice whatever it is you're feeling insecure about. And if they did, they certainly won't be thinking about it for very long. People are actually far more worried about and consumed with themselves to be giving other folks that much mental energy. Trust me. So relax, take a deep breath. Make that mental note of what you learned and then get yourself back in the right mindset to join another conversation. Get excited about the opportunity to meet more new people. This might be a great time to recite one of those affirmations or just to take a few deep breaths and then move on. Another question people sometimes ask is, how do I gracefully exit a conversation? So you met someone and maybe they're great, but you want to meet someone else or simply meet more people because you are trying to build your network, the noun, and you are networking, right? The verb, the action. So I recommend this one simple sentence. It was so nice meeting you. And you can even go on to say how much you enjoyed the conversation or learning about X, Y, and Z. This is the cue that you'll be moving on, and most people will pick up on it. Then if you really do want to continue the conversation later or maintain a connection, I would then ask for their business card if they're a lawyer. Just simply say, do you have a business card? I'd love to connect again. Then when you get home, add them to LinkedIn and remind them where you met them, that you enjoyed the conversation and that you love to connect. If the person doesn't have a business card, or if you think that they don't have business cards yet, for example, maybe they're another law student, ask if they have a LinkedIn account and look them up. If you have time, do it while you're there at the event. Now, some people will also give a reason for exiting the conversation. They might say, I've got to go make a quick call, or meet up with a friend, or I need to run to the restroom, but it was so nice meeting you. It's not necessary to do this by any means, but some people feel more comfortable exiting the conversation if they have a reason to do so. So you just have to figure out what works best for you and what works best in that particular instance. Another question you might have, and it's a pretty common one, is what do I say? We've discussed some questions to ask a person you meet, but for some people, it's easier to have a mental list of conversation ideas. So here we have a few tips for you. And right now, first, we're going to start with just the very basics that you can discuss with virtually anyone. So if you can remember the mnemonic, SEWW, S-E-W-W, think of it as you are sowing the seeds of a relationship. So the first S in SEW stands for surroundings. Think of your 5 senses, something you can see, hear, taste, smell. As an example, you can compliment something the person is wearing or something that they're saying. Compliment even the event venue. Make note of the atmosphere or the temperature in the room. So for example, I was recently at Costco grabbing a pack of low-carb tortillas in the bread section. And I was reading the nutrition content even though I've purchased them before. So a woman who's walking by pushes her cart up to mine and she says, "They're really good, I promise you." I said, "I've actually had them before and I do like them. They're close enough to the real thing." So she laughs and she repeats, "Close enough to the real thing." And if you're a keto/low carber, then you know that some of the substitutes for stuff with low or no carbs taste just like the packaging that it's housed in. So it's a big deal if an item tastes good. So here was a brief, less than 5-minute exchange over low-carb tortillas that could have sparked a longer conversation. I could have asked, "Do you know of any other low-carb or keto items that you like at Costco?" And that could have evolved into a conversation around how or why we're looking for low-carb items in the first place. Another example that most of you can probably relate to is if you see someone wearing a sweatshirt from your college alma mater, right? Or maybe you see someone wearing your sorority or fraternity's paraphernalia. That opens the door for instant connection, even if it's brief. Last fall, I took my kids to Universal Studios and we saw somebody walking around with a University of Michigan sweatshirt on. And so the universal greeting for U of M alumni and fans is "Go Blue," which I said, and they smiled and responded with "Go Blue" right back, right? So we were just passing each other in the park and walking to the next attraction. We could have easily struck up a conversation had we been standing in line waiting for a ride. So again, practice makes perfect regardless of how long an encounter might be or what it might be about. So that's the S in so. So the E stands for current events. So this can include anything that's happening on the news. A consistent theme for the past almost 3 years has been the pandemic, right? Now there's a caveat here because with current events, things can sometimes get political and awkward, and not to mention with the pandemic, painful because so many people lost loved ones during the pandemic. So you have to be very careful, and sometimes this isn't the best way to spark a connection. But if it seems safe to focus on some of the positives, you could mention liking that you have the ability to work from home, for example. Oftentimes, current events can just be based around sports, right? And be very neutral. So who are you rooting for in the World Cup? Or who's your favorite to win the Super Bowl, for example? So next, the first W in so is the weather. This is the number one topic of conversation to start with a stranger. Is it rainy, snowy, sunny, cold, hot? How do you turn this into a conversation, though? Remember, it's important to provide long answers to questions. You can also provide full commentary when you're striking up a conversation. For example, instead of saying, "It's raining today," you could say, "I didn't expect it to rain today. I was so busy rushing out the door for school or for work that I forgot my umbrella." If they want to continue the conversation, they have the opportunity to share too. Maybe they got caught by the rain and were surprised, just like you were. The last W in the mnemonic so is week or weekend. Pretty self-explanatory. So for example, how's your week going? Or how was your weekend? And the risk here is that you might get a short answer, for example, like good. But if they reciprocate and say, how's your week going? It gives you an opportunity to provide a long answer and develop further conversation with them. So the so topics of conversation are our most basic round of questions. If you're practicing just conversation skills standing in line at the post office or something like that, then the conversation's likely going to end right there, just like it did for me at Costco or at Universal Studios. But if you want to develop a connection further, you can continue to the second round of questions. So the second round of questions uses the mnemonic famous. That's FFAMMIS. Like you want to go beyond sowing a basic relationship with someone and instead get along famously with them. A lot of people recommend these as initial small talk conversation topics, but I recommend you start with so, because you don't want to walk up to a stranger and start with, "So what's your favorite movie?" People don't expect that, and the conversation may be awkward or get cut short. Instead, start with something very basic, as we discussed with the so mnemonic, and if the conversation goes on, then you can continue to the famous mnemonic. So famous stands for family, friends, art, music, movies, interests, and sports. So as an example, if you ask someone how their weekend was, and maybe they give a short answer like good, but then they ask you the same question, you now have the opportunity to bring up a famous topic. You could say, it was nice. I visited my mom back home in New York. Or I had a great weekend. I saw so-and-so in concert and then had a great brunch at XYZ restaurant downtown. So in just that short sentence, you've explained that you've got a mom in New York and that you like this particular artist that you saw in concert and that you like the restaurant. Now, sometimes the other person is just not that interested. And in that case, they might kind of make it obvious at that point. They may say, oh, that sounds nice, and kind of the conversation fizzles out from there. If that happens, don't take offense and don't try to continue a conversation that they don't want to have. It doesn't mean they don't like you personally. They may just be having a bad day, and you can chat with someone else instead. The truth is, though, in most cases, they will try to continue the conversation. People really do like it when they can make a connection with a stranger. It really will often lift both of your spirits, and as human beings, we're naturally social creatures and we crave connection. So beyond the so and famous topics, there are specific conversation topics you may want to have with other law students and with lawyers. So the mnemonic for law students is clues, CLEEWS, like you want a clue about their law school life or legal career. The truth is there's a specific group of conversation topics that will work really well with law students. They're universal. They are the C in clues, which is class. What's your favorite or least favorite class? What's the hardest class you're taking this semester or the easiest one? The L, location. Where are you from? Where do you live? How do you like it? The first E is for extracurriculars. Are you doing a journal like law review? Are you doing moot court? Do you belong to any clubs? Well, how do you like them? The next E is for exams. You can discuss upcoming or past exams. For example, how do you feel about an upcoming exam in a course, right? Or have you started outlining midterms, final exams, or even the bar exam? For example, what bar review course are you taking? The W is for work. Do you have any jobs lined up? Are you participating in OCIs? What do you want to do this summer? What kind of law are you interested in? And then the S is for studying. You could ask someone, where do you like to study? How are you preparing for your finals? Who do you study with? Do you need a study group? So these are some basic questions that you can ask that are specific to law students, and it should generate a decent amount of conversation. There are also specific questions you can ask of lawyers, and that'll happen when you're in an event. Maybe there's an event at the law school or you attend a bar association event. So the convenient mnemonic to remember for lawyers is simply law. The L stands for law school. So where did you go to law school? How did you like it? Do you have any tips for me? This last one, do you have any tips for me? That's going to generate a lot of conversation topics because most people, and especially lawyers, love to give advice. The A is for advice, right? So do you have any advice you'd give to a law student in their first year? What about a bar exam taker? What advice would you give somebody looking for a job or about to go on an interview? So not only are they conversation starters, but now you're starting to tap into their knowledge and experience, and you may gain very valuable information. The W stands for work. Ask, what do you do? What do you like best about your job? Did you know you wanted to practice this particular area of law? Ask about their journey to becoming a lawyer. What sparked their interest, for example? So we've covered where to naturally and strategically build networking relationships, tips for networking, and conversation starters using mnemonics that we hope are easy for you to remember. We hope you found this helpful. Best of luck building your network.